Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of a Tubular Bugle edition. This audio podcast is part of a Redacted and Turbulance. This audio podcast as part of a Bostics jump off, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production. In this audio podcast, a sort of an overview in an overview in around some of the in around matriculants, applicants, matriculants, and sort of the selection process, part of the selection process. So the graduate and mature applicant um, who may have achieved a sort of a sort of a good sort of undergrad sort of qualification, and preferably in a scientific amongst the scientific program such as for example within in biochemistry or pharmacology, etc. etc. And at the same time, most med schools now expect sort of graduate and mature applicants to hold a postgrad qualification and demonstrating an understanding of an aspect of sort of medical clinical practice. The present application system at the same time prevents prompts a sort of an unfair assessment of the graduate or mature a mature the graduate of sort of graduate or mature sort of applicants and sort of and aligned to aligned to sort of competencies, and at present, a particular confounding issue is using a sort of a collaborative application process which does not assess the mature graduate applicant fairly. In comparing graduate and mature applicants, academic institutions may consider students with arts or humanities backgrounds, the criteria differing from in the differing the criteria differing from one institution to the next. However, science backgrounds are becoming however science backgrounds have become sort of a more sort of prerequisite in the majority, a mature and graduate sort of applicants who come from sort of lesser research and scientific driven programs on non-science on non-science academic backgrounds from sorry mature graduate or applicants who come from lesser research or scientific driven programs can face sort of issues can face issues as more entities of practice will involve sort of evidence-based medicines, critical appraisals, and translational clinical science within routine sort of medical practices, in line to routine medical practices. Health practices are all, at the same time are changing, and new ones continually emerging. In this environment, bright sort of graduate or mature applicants who demonstrate sort of the autonomy, the relevant practical competencies will have considerable may have considerable will have sort of considerable potential, and will be able to relate a sort of experiences and knowledge closely to working in the National Health Service or NHS. In modern medicine, however, medical school applicants also must understand translational work and humanistic comprehension from all of from all sort of healthcare professionals sort of viewpoints. Medical schools should be attracted by sort of candidates or applicants who have attained diverse understanding and familiarity, potentially being able to contribute across all health sectors and demonstrating aptitude and flair in a fast moving healthcare environment. Where there is a potential for graduates to make good clinicians, these contenders should be given an opportunity to express further sort of further talent or aptitude, particularly where the candidate's background suits dual roles. So, for example, clinical and academic. A selection protocol is unfair if it disadvantages cohorts of applicants. For example, particular graduates by admitting graduates on the basis of criteria not directly relevant to whether or not the applicant will be a good medic or physician. So appraisal of medical candidates' academic performance by grade point averages or GPAs is dependable, but one dimensional. Graduate entrants are attracted to medicine because of a desire for fulfillment, to care for the sick, but also to bring clarity, variety, and control. In works by authors by works in by authors the the following have been informed. So admission criteria are expected to be fair, transparent, evidence-based, and legally defensible, and the use of vast majority of non-cognitive admission criteria is not evidence-based, and that these criteria should not be a component of the selection process for medical schools. So there needs to be a clarity. so so so. At the same time, then in continuing, there needs to be a clear or transparent pathway for graduate and mature applicants, and admissions should be using or utilizing clearer criteria to differentiate between school leavers and mature applicants with separate processes. So in this peer-reviewed and published works, the published works is would be is and should be accessible online, and there will be a link on across social media in around accessing this the peer-reviewed and published works from 2013. There is in the peer-reviewed and published works from 2013, there is an overview that highlights how medical admissions panels can, for example, set up the sort of entry criteria and selection process of applicants more decisively. That draws this audio podcast to a close. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This has been an audio podcast as part of a Tubular Bugle edition, an audio podcast as part of a Redacted and Turbulance, an audio podcast as part of a Bostics Jump Off, an audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production.